This week on Dumb Pitches, my guest is Graham Kay. He's a hilarious stand-up comedian. He's got a comedy special. He's done Colbert. He was in Super Troopers too. But he shares with us all the terrible ideas that he had and decisions he made that kept him from being the most famous person you ever heard of. Terrible timing, questionable decisions, and taking down other people's lives with him. It's a wonderful story. It's personal. It's hilarious. Here we go. Dumb pitches.
What a bunch of dumb pitches. Oh my goodness.
Welcome to another episode of Dumb Pitches with Monica Nevi. I'm your host, Monica Nevi. Thank you for being here. It's the show where we talk to successful people about their worst ideas. It's a great show. Make sure you subscribe and like and review, whatever you're supposed to do. Do that. But here we go. Help me welcome my guest, Graham Kay. Yay. We'll clap for you.
Hey, yeah, thank you for clapping.
Yes.
I appreciate it. It's nice to be clapped for in my dining room. Feels good.
That's what everybody wants to be clapped for in their own dining room. Thank you for being here and doing the show. I'm excited to have you. We always like to start and give a little credibility to our guests to prove that you don't just have bad ideas. So, Graham Kay, you were on the Colbert Show. You've done the Late Show with Colbert. You have 3 albums. You have a podcast called The Edgelords. You have another podcast called Autastic, which is about autism awareness, which is great. You have a new special called Stupid Jokes. Among other things, you're also in Super Troopers 2. You're a fancy guy. You've done some stuff.
I'm a fancy guy, very successful, and you're lucky that I was able to fit you in.
Thank you so much. So now that we got those lies out of the
way. Hey.
I'm kidding. What did you think of when I first sent you, the ideas, I guess? What were the first bad ideas that you had?
I've had a lot of bad ideas. I think if you're like a creative person, you mostly have bad ideas. And it's basically creating 100 bad ideas, and then you have one that's good, and you try and scrub the 99 bad ones out of the internet somehow.
I was gonna say, hopefully the good idea is the one that people actually see, but that doesn't always happen.
Yeah. No, I've mainly, luckily, most of my bad ideas stay on a notepad, but a lot of my bad ideas have affected my career, but they have been like life decisions.
Okay.
I make a lot of I'm not a calculated person. I think that when you start out doing something, I think goals are very important. And people were always, when I was starting comedy, people were like, write your goals out. I'm like, okay, be a famous comedian. Done. Work hard and be a famous comedian. And it's like, okay, yeah, I do work hard, and but it's like things could have happened for me a lot faster. I'm not a famous comedian, but I do have a decent middle class life, and I don't have a day job, so that's something.
Right. Yeah.
But I think things could have progressed faster, or in a more streamlined way, if I didn't make dumb personal decisions.
Okay.
For example,
what you're saying, hold on, hang on, I just want to clarify. What you're saying is that these aren't career choices, but they have affected your career as a side effect?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes. I'm trying to steer the ship on the path of to be Dave Chappelle, and instead I went to dry dock. So so like I'm Canadian.
Oh yes, we forgot about that.
Canadians aren't allowed to work in America. We're only allowed to come on vacation. I moved to America to start comedy without being allowed to do comedy. And I stuck it out for 5 years.
So you started,
as an undocumented worker.
You started in America. You hadn't started comedy in Canada before that? You moved and then started?
No.
Interesting. Okay.
I did one in Ottawa when I started, where I'm from Ottawa, Canada, the capital of Canada. It's a city. A lot of Americans think it's Ontario. That's the province it's in. Provinces are like states. Ottawa is the capital of Canada, and it's about 1 million people. And we had 2 comedy clubs. There was no like bar shows. There was no open mics. There was only amateur nights. Okay. So I signed up for an amateur night in Ottawa in front of 200 people. And I'm sure if I saw the tape now, if their tape does exist, it will make me want to puke. But I watched, but I was like, I crushed. I'm ready for Letterman. I'm going to move to New York.
So you did one set and you were like,
figure it out.
I'm going to not only New York, just the biggest comedy city, but a different country that you're not supposed to be working in. You're like, this open mic went so well, or this amateur night went so well. I'm ready.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm ready. Yeah. I'll figure it out.
I like Letterman too.
They're going to love me.
Letterman, I'm going right now.
Yeah. I'm going there. That's where he is. And I want to be on it. So I moved to New York. I got a summer job off the books at a rich kids Jewish summer camp doing logistics, sending rich kids in the summer on European trips, organizing their flights and whatnot. And I'm not Jewish. I'm also not good at logistics. And I worked there. My plan was to stay for the summer and then move back to Ottawa and just like do a bunch of sets, because I felt like I was like 25 and I was like, oh, this is too late to start comedy. Summer in New York is like 5 in Canada, whatever.
Okay.
Anyway, I like got fired for sending a kid to the wrong city in Italy.
Wait, did he go? Did he actually go, or was it just like you scheduled it?
Yes.
He didn't realize it.
No, he flew and landed. Yeah. Little Benji was walking around the Ortona or something, Italy, when he was supposed to be in Rome or whatever. And anyway, so I got fired.
Okay.
But I got fired with enough, like 1-2 paychecks, which was enough to cover my rent. All I needed was food.
No, okay.
And so I got a job working in a restaurant off the books, and then that job didn't have a deadline. The first job was a summer job.
Right.
Once it was over, I was going to go home. But now I've got a job that doesn't end.
Right.
And so, and I'm like, I'm starting to get into comedy. I'm starting to get really passionate about it. I'm starting to like make friends and figure it out. And
how is the comedy part going at this point? Like, you had the good first set, now you're in New York. Are the sets still going well, or are you like, oh, oops, I shouldn't have done this?
It's hard. It's hard as hell, but I'm doing open mics. I'm like barking for 5-minute spots on real shows. It's not like expectations are not high. Every one of my peers, even if they're talented, sucks, and I suck. But that you have like a few of your peers that everyone sucks in the beginning,
Right.
but you always like can tell who has some talent. And I felt like I was one of those people, and I had made some friends that I also felt were good and new, but we became friends, and we would like go to all these open mics, and it was exciting. It's a very exciting, fun, very stressful, hard time, but um yeah. And then all of a sudden 5 years had passed, and I got like,
Did you have the
yeah.
same job for that whole time? This restaurant job? Is that why you stayed?
Oh no, I got fired from pretty much every job, but I kept finding new ones. Yeah, I got one. Well, one I quit because for that job I quit because the owner was a maniac, and he was like very racist, Italian American guy, very short man syndrome. He had a loaded machine gun above his desk. He had grenades, and it was the gay neighbor. It was Chelsea, and he just called everyone like F-bombs and all of his workers, and he only hired people he didn't have to pay. We didn't get paid. We only got tips. And he was like, he had an affair with the hostess, and then they had like a 3-year-old toddler who was half black. She was black, and he was super racist, and he would drive around with his toddler pointing at, like, he'd take me to the fish market to pick up fish in the morning, and the toddler would be in the back of the van, and he'd be like pointing at black people, going, "That's an N-word. You're not an N-word," to like the 3-year-old. And I was like, I gotta get out of here.
Yeah, you're like, I'm
And
good.
yeah.
Wow. All right. Which I get it. You had to find something that you wouldn't get in trouble for working as far as being in America. So
it's very hard to find a job when you're not allowed to have a job.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. There you go.
And
That's what I was say.
Yeah, and it's like there's no Canadian syndicate of undocumented expats that I can go to and provide a support system. No one, like the Mexican dudes, they had a support system. Like they knew you go to Queens, you get a fake social security number there. Okay. You do this, you do that, you do. And also, I didn't want to get involved in any of that because I wanted to be legitimate. I didn't want to have like a fake name. Like I want to be a famous person named Graham K. I don't want to screw any of that up.
Yeah.
So I want everything to be cash. I don't want any fake funny numbers. I don't want to also screw over somebody else's finances by accidentally using their social, some guy in Colorado, let's say, and screwing up his
using a different social
credit or something, Yeah, so I mean, the whole thing scared the crap out of me. I just wanted to do comedy. I just wanted to be on Conan and Letterman, and it was very stressful because like anything goes wrong, you're screwed, and then your dream is over. Right. And what I should have done is like stayed for a year at most, and been like, oh, I was like in my early 20s, and I was in New York for a year, and then I got like the New York work ethic as a template and moved to Toronto. But instead, where all the comedies in Canada is in Toronto. And but it's just tough. I don't know anybody in Toronto. I don't know anybody in Ottawa really. Like all my I went away for college.
Like for comedy too. I mean, you don't know any of the other comedians, right? In those places, so it's not like in the same.
I don't know any of the other comedians.
Yeah, in the same way that nobody could help you in New York, be like, well, this is where Canadians go to work or whatever. Nobody in Canada can say this is where we go to do comedy or whatever. So you,
yeah,
you're just making it up here.
Yeah, I'm just making it up. And so like got some other jobs, and then they would like either they go to business or they were seasonal, and you have to like hand in your. Anyway, it was just hard to find a job. I had a girlfriend too, which like supplants you. I was interning at Vice magazine, and there was like, maybe I can get it through them if they hire me for something. So I was trying to get full-time employment from them. That just didn't work out. It was like, I was not a good candidate, And so I wanted to be a comedian. I didn't want to be like a reporter or
Right.
like an office stooge,
Mhm.
So, and they don't anyway. So, and that company, whatever. But so long story short is I'm working at this restaurant, a Halloween themed restaurant in um Times Square.
A Halloween, like all year round,
And
it's Halloween themed.
yeah, and they have like animatronic things like that, like with hidden cameras and hidden microphones. Like I was a bartender, and behind me a coffin would open up, and it would be like it would be like, hey, lady with the long brown hair and the Bernie sweater, what are you doing? And you'd be like, what, me? You'd be like, yeah, you. And there'd be an actor on the fifth floor who'd be like voicing him with the cameras, and he could see you. And anyway, it was pretty cool. But
It's like a
I had a
haunted
girlfriend at the
house. That's
time,
weird.
and we were like, I was like drinking with her at like on my off night, and her friend who is a lesbian like graffiti artist, and she was dressed like a guy, and this all makes sense why I'm explaining this later. But she leaves the bar. The three of us leave the bar, and her friend, who's a graffiti artist, is like tagging an outdoor ATM. This is like at 3 a.m.
Okay.
And I'm like, why are you tagging? We're like almost 30. What are you doing? And I was like, you want to see my tag from ninth grade? And I did like my tag. All of a sudden, I see out of the corner of my eye, two cars have pulled up on the curb, and two guys are slamming me against like that metal grate that's over like a closed shop.
Mm-hmm.
And I like turn around and I elbow one in the face. The other one grabs the graffiti girl and throws her, I guess because they thought she was a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And she went like way further because she weighed less than a guy, and she hit like a fire hydrant and
Oh
like
shit.
messed up her arm and her like rib. And then they were like plainclothes like not undercover but plainclothes cops.
Mm-hmm.
And we got arrested and we were in jail for 3 days.
For 3
And
days.
then and I got charged for like assaulting a police officer, and I almost got kicked out of the country. But luckily there was like closed caption CCTVs across the street from a different company or a different business. I also would have had to go to jail for a while in America for assaulting a police officer.
Yeah.
And then because back then they had breaking window laws where like they had quotas. It was like a big scandal, but the police departments had quotas. They had to get a certain amount of arrests. So it was like the end of the week, end of the month, and they're like, okay, we're gonna screw these hipsters, we're gonna like mess them up or whatever.
Right.
And so I was in jail for 3 days with her, and it was like this like pending case where it was like really hard for me to leave the country and see my family because there was like a pending case. I was really worried about having to go to jail. And I did get my job back because on a side note, because my boss was black, and he was like, I was like, oh, I did like, he's like, where were you? Because in the restaurant industry, if you don't show up, you're screwed.
Right.
He's like, where were you? And I was like, oh, I was just doing this, and then these two guys came up, and then and he was like, oh, you got picked up.
Right. He's
just
like,
bring me the 1046 form. Like he knew the name of the form to prove that I had been picked up. Because he was from like the Bronx. It's like in his world, it's not your fault for the police. You get to just make you disappear, and
Right.
he understood that. And if my boss was white, I would have been fired for sure.
Right. He's like, you were in jail, you have to go.
Yeah, he had sympathy. Like he understood that it's like you could be just walking around and they're like, obviously it happens way more for black people. I look like a cop, so it's very rare for me. But anyway, so I had this like pending case thing, and then I also got an audition for Conan, and I couldn't take it because if I got it, I wouldn't be able to perform on Conan because legally I wasn't allowed to do Conan. So I had to leave and go to Canada. So I just like packed up everything, broke up with my girlfriend, and like settled the case. It got expunged, but I wasn't allowed to like it was just too much. So I just obviously it wasn't working out. So I did the right thing. I went to Canada, and I started over. I was passed in 5 New York clubs, comedy clubs in New York, and had to start over, and I was an open micer in Canada again,
Yeah.
not making any money.
So that was after
and
5 years.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
That's
And then had to start over there, built up. That's why I met you, because had to do that comedy competition to build up credits to get a work visa.
So that
I
was
was trying to
kind
get
of
back in the States and get a work visa.
that was kind of right after that. Like, how long had you been back in Canada when we did the Seattle International Comedy Competition together? I mean, years ago now, but
Yeah,
so how long had you been
yeah,
back
like
in Canada?
2013. Like 18 months.
Okay.
Maybe 2 years.
Look at you. I mean, I was only like,
Yeah,
I think 2 years into comedy, or maybe 3 when we did that, but
yeah. You were a
did
baby.
great.
I remember that.
You did great for having
Yeah.
just had to go back. That's crazy. Okay, so you go to New York. You end up staying for much longer than you maybe initially thought, but it seems to be going well. The reason you go is because you have one good set and you're like, I need to be on Letterman or Conan. You get this Conan opportunity, but then you can't take it
Yeah.
because you went to New York. Like, it's this odd
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah. I'm an idiot. And then I get, like, after 3 years, in order to get getting a work papers to work in the States as an artist is very, very hard. People go, oh, but it was so funny. I'd always explain how hard it is to get back in, and people would always say, but you're white.
They would say that?
What?
Well, like, I think it is
Yeah.
confusing
Americans.
for Americans
Yeah.
because Canadians, like, you're still illegal, but that's not who they think of, like, an undocumented person
Yeah.
is not Canadian, you know?
Yeah. So I spent $14,000. I took out a loan to pay for the legal bills for the lawyers, and also 3 years of my life becoming a C-list, D-list celebrity in Canada, which is basically what it takes. All the credits you have to, like, accrue. And so I got my work paper. I got an agent, and she was like, I never wanted to move to LA, but she was like, you got to move to LA.
That's what they say. They all say
And
that's their first answer. You have to move to LA.
Yeah.
Okay, well.
Yeah. And I should have moved to New York to keep up, like, my momentum and all my contacts. And she actually was like, New York wouldn't be bad either, but I would prefer LA.
Okay.
And I was like, all right. And I had a girlfriend at the time, and she was in Toronto, and we were living together by that point. And I was like, I have to move to LA. I'm sorry. And I was like, do you want to come? She's like, I want to come. And I was like, are you sure? It's going to be really hard. She was like, let's do this. I was like, great. And moved to LA with her, and the same thing happened all over again with her. Of course, I knew it was going to happen. I was just trying to ignore it. And then that was obviously, like, you're living with somebody who can't make a living, and I'm a comedian, and I have to support 2 people.
Right.
And it was like, she didn't do anything wrong. It's like, we both were like, we'll figure it out. And it was, a complete, absolute fucking disaster.
So she
I mean,
was
the
then
neighbors in our apartment.
got it, trying to do the same thing you were doing by finding work that she wasn't legally allowed to do.
Yes.
Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
She had
already done this, though.
Great job.
Okay.
Yes. I knew. I'd made the same mistake again, but instead of ruining my life, I ruined somebody else's. So that's pretty cool.
And she left a good job. Is that what you're saying?
I like a great, high profile, very intelligent woman, like, adult job. And we're trying to get her jobs as, like, a nanny in LA, and trying to, like, I don't know, it's just an absolute. I mean, there were avenues for her to get a work visa that were easier than mine professionally, because she could do it as like a corporate person, which is a little easier under the North American Free Trade Agreement, but it was still very difficult and a complete shit show. I had to start over again, by the way.
Right. Then
That
you
was
go.
another major.
Yep.
So
So
now
anything you did in
I'm an
New
open
York,
micer again.
right, in LA now because you've had to start over in a third place.
Yeah, everything I did in New York was in a different side of the continent, in a different side of America, and also 4 years ago. No one
Right.
cares.
Oh yeah, yep, that too.
And everything I did in Toronto was in a different country. No one knows or cares. So I'm starting over again for a third time. And this is 8 years, 9 years into my career. I've started over I'm an open micer again, trying to find open mics, driving around. I go up to Canada to make money.
I've seen that happen a lot. Well, that's the thing.
That's
So
it.
when I went to LA, I still did so much road stuff, but I could do that because I had already been here in America doing the road gigs. You know, I could go back to these clubs and stuff that I had
and you're
done.
West Coast.
Right, exactly. And so then, but you guys, this happens because I know other Canadian comics, when they move here, like it's the clubs you've been working are in Canada. So your road work is not even close, you know? Oh.
Yeah. And so, like, those are sort of the decisions that I made that I feel, if, you know, life is life, but if, like, I had to do it over again, I probably would have still gone to New York, worked for 8 months, done like open mics a lot, maybe a year at tops, moved back to Toronto, been like a good open micer, better than somebody who's a year in Toronto, lived there, tried to get a work visa like 6-7 years in my career, and moved to New York or LA straight from there.
Yeah. That makes
But,
sense.
but who knows what that would have.
Right. There could have been something else. When do you get arrested, though? You know, we have to put that in there somewhere.
Yeah. Exactly.
But I like the idea that you're like, no, I would have done it differently. Like a lot of people are like, I wouldn't change a thing. And you're like, I would probably change a few things at least, you know?
Yeah. I ruined this poor woman's life. No, she's okay now.
Okay, good.
But
we gotta check in. Well,
like
so now you're back in New York. So how do you get from LA to New York? Do you go straight from LA to New York?
Yeah. Well, I planned this whole tour. I booked all these gigs, and I was going to drive. I was going to have the Great American Road Trip. I broke up with my ex. We both needed to get out of it. Mostly amicable. And then I was going to take my 2002. I've only owned 2 cars in my life, both when I moved to LA, both year 2002 vehicles. Golden age of automobiles.
And that was not the year you were there, though.
No. No, it was not. I was there 2015 to 2017.
Not 2002. No, okay, got it.
Not 2002. I was going to drive my 2002 Volvo from LA to New York and do gigs along the way. And I planned this whole tour, and I was going to open up for Gary Goldman a couple times, do a couple festivals, headline a couple of my own shows. And it took me a long time. And then, but my 01 performing arts visa was expiring, and I was in transition to get my green card, which was like a huge victory. But Trump got elected and put a hold on all of the green cards for like 6 months. So I very quickly had to just pack up my clothes and sell, and I left my car at my friend's house, and I flew to Canada, and I played cards with my parents for like 6 months, and I like sold all my belongings on the phone to like my friends. I sold my Volvo to my buddy for like $800. And I was like, sick. And then
800, that's pretty good.
Yeah, it's gonna. You don't need a lot of money when you're living with your parents playing cards.
Yeah.
And you're just like a 36-year-old man your parents. Things are going fine in the comedy biz. Trying to explain to all your parents, neighbors that you're not a loser. It's Trump.
Yeah, I swear, man, it just seems like a real timing thing for you. Like, I feel like
Yeah.
you should. Well, first of all, I would just vouch for you on my own. If anybody hasn't seen Graham's stand up, it's great. He's a great stand up comedian. He's very funny. And I feel like you've gotten all these opportunities or you had these plans and then something, it's the timing right before, or, maybe.
Timing right before.
Yeah.
I just got passed at the Comedy Cellar in New York, which is like a dream of mine. It's in the comedy world. It's like a famous comedy club, and then the pandemic happened.
And like you can work here, but it's closed.
But it's closed.
Yeah, there's nowhere you can't do it.
And right now they're auditioning new people, and I'm putting in my avails, but I don't think she remembers who I am
because it happened right before. Wow, Jesus.
Yeah.
It's not. It's kind of you don't know.
So I can't audition and I can't perform.
Oh my God. Something's gonna happen.
But everything else in my life is good.
That's good.
Everything else is good.
Really? Like
I'm a lucky guy. I'm a lucky guy in every other way, I think.
I like that.
I think if these things didn't happen to me, I wouldn't be funny.
That's true. I mean not that I don't think you would be funny, but I do think it happens. Stuff happens and then, something else happens and you're like, well, here we go again. I can do this though because I've already done it before, Like you understand that you can get through things because you've already done it. Oh man. Well, first of all, I like the idea that some people have come on here and been like, I had an invention idea that was stupid, and you're like, oh, here's my life story. It was a bad idea.
Yeah.
Such a full.
Well, I guess I didn't really. I mean, I was thinking about like other dumb ideas that I've had. Like they're all personal. Like I had like I remember I was dating this woman. I was like working. I'll tell it in 30 seconds.
Okay.
I obviously could tell it longer, but like I was like living in Europe when I was in my early 20s. I got a job with the Canadian government working in Budapest for a year, and I was dating the stewardess, and then she was like, I can get us free trips to Mallorca, Spain, and in like 6 months. And I was like, that'd be great. And then by the time that rolled around, it was like very clear that I was going to move back to Canada after my contract, but I just was like, I didn't say anything because I wanted to go to Spain. And then we had like a 7-day horrible vacation together because she hated me.
No, it's just a long breakup vacation.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
We like personal stories though. It's great. But I think the moral of the entire story though is that you deserve to be as successful as you would like to be, and everyone should follow you. Where are you doing some live shows again, right? I mean, there's stuff in New York going on.
Yeah, I'm fully vaxxed, and a lot of New Yorkers are, and it's like a third capacity. And so I'm like performing like 4 or 5 times a week.
Sweet. Where can
and
people
the odd park show?
Nice.
Yeah, just go to my Instagram. Go to my Instagram. It's at Insta Graham K. The word Insta and then Graham K, all one word. INSTAGRAHAMKAY. That's it. And I post all my shows there. Check out my comedy special. I'm proud of it. It was filmed before the pandemic at Just for Laughs Comedy Festival, and it just got released in America on YouTube. It was only available on a Canadian streaming service for a year. So that's out of purgatory, and I have a new podcast I'm very excited about called The Edgelords. Check that out. Very much. Thank you. It's about 2 nice comedians trying to learn how to be edgy.
Oh, that's fun. It's nice and well done too. Great. Yes, absolutely. And we'll put links in the description of the YouTube video and the podcast. Sorry, I forget what we're doing. So you can go and check out his special and then find him on social media and whatnot. Graham K, very funny. Thank you for doing the show and sharing your personal story with us.
Thank you. I'm sorry if I went long. It's just a lot of tragedy.
No,
So,
it's perfect. We needed to know. It would be a tragedy if
yeah.
we didn't get to the end of what happened, you know? So everyone support
right.
Grav. Go check him out. Follow him so you can see him live and he can prove himself that he can make good decisions. And make sure
Thanks, buddy.
Yeah, you're welcome. Make sure you subscribe, rate, and review here for Dumb Pitches. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. Give it a like, whatever you do, share it. We also have YouTube memberships now. If you want to join the membership, then you get behind the scenes episodes of this show, which is My Bad Ideas. I also have full stand-up sets, 50 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever, on there, and some other things. You get these episodes a day before on Thursday. But if you're listening, go ahead and subscribe, follow on Spotify, whatever. They're all different. And be sure to check out the Third Wheel Podcast Studio if you want to make a podcast or record some stuff, make it sound good. Third Wheel Podcast Studio in Seattle or in Los Angeles. But right now, why don't you just keep watching Dumb Pitches?
You're weird.
Yes.